Kia ora, hello, I'm Philip Duncan. Thank you for joining me for our Thursday weather update recorded on the 25th of September. We've got some cold fronts on the way, no surprises really. We're in the thick of spring now, so those windy westerlies are going to continue off and on, along with surges of polar air. Let's have a look at the satellite map at the moment. This is the weather pattern we're expecting off and on for the next couple of weeks ahead. Now that we're past the spring equinox, very normal to be seeing this sort of weather, but this is the main area of energy. It's around Tasmania and south of Australia. That is why we keep seeing the South Island in particular being clipped by these storms south of New Zealand, windy westerlies coming in for many other places, and it's building up west coast rain. We've been seeing that off and on over the last couple of weeks. We'll see that even more so in the next couple of weeks, with about 300-400, maybe more than that, millimetres falling on parts of the west coast, maybe only a few millimetres falling around parts of Hawke's Bay. So a very classic westerly driven setup. Thunderstorms down here with this low pressure zone that is moving towards the west coast. Meanwhile, the subtropical slow rain event, that patchy kind of rain that we saw around the North Island, that has cleared away. I don't know why the government guys keep calling it atmospheric rivers. It looked on the rain radar like a river in drought with a few little heavy spots here and there, but it wasn't that dramatic. Here is the Thursday setup. Windy westerlies blowing through once more across the country. Big low pressure zones, not just that one, but even bigger ones further to the south, driving in this weather. So mild westerlies or northwesterlies for many places on Thursday, but you can see that cold front coming into the southwest corner as we go into tonight. And as we go through to Friday, the polar airflow surges up to the halfway mark of the country, and the lower North Island gets a taste of some colder weather. Further north, it's not that bad. Westerly winds straight out of New South Wales. That's not going to be very cold for you. And eastern areas, it'll be windy, but it shouldn't be too cold. The coldest weather, western areas and southern parts of the South Island. Possibly around Taranaki, Manawatu, Wanganui as well, down towards Horowhenua, and even getting around places like Porirua. The wind coming straight off the sea can be a little bit cold when it's like that. Now, as we go to Saturday, the winds tilt a little bit northwest, not much, but it's enough to help push the polar airflow to the south. So apart from some cold air lingering around sort of the west coast, mostly in and around the mountains, most of the country's got a west to northwest flow. Not overly stormy, but it will be a bit windy here and there, mainly through the mountains and Cook Strait, and eastern areas will feel the wind probably more than those in the west. West coast rain, dry for most places in the North Island. I mentioned the other day some showers might be a little bit heavy, not looking quite so likely now, but you never know. There might be an isolated heavy shower coming through with that westerly setup. As we go to Sunday, daylight saving begins, spring forward 1 hour. You get ripped off 1 hour on Sunday. It's only 23 hours long. Windy weather comes back. It surges up more so on Sunday than it did on Saturday. It's still mild though for this time of the year. So a lot of places won't be as cold. We are, like I said in the intro, still many more polar changes and cold fronts to come through. But as we go into October, you tend to notice a few more days in the mix that are milder. And this will be one of those days from a temperature point of view, as those winds come out of Australia. Over the Tasman Sea is a nor'wester, and in fact, the high pressure zone to our north is dragging down a subtropical airflow for parts of the North Island and upper South Island. So Sunday, as we kick off the start of summer, really, in some ways, if you look at it like that, with the daylight saving beginning, it won't be a bad day from a temperature point of view. But the winds are going to be around, as you see here, 1 o'clock on Sunday, strong winds coming through. The areas in purple and the darker shading through the mountains and the ranges show wind gusts of 90 to 100 kilometres an hour, and windy through Cook Strait, Wellington, southern wide and upper. Nothing beyond your normal kind of winds, but it's going to be blustery here and there. So to Monday, we kick off the last days of the month with this cooler change coming through. So temperatures drop again on Monday, starts on Sunday evening in the south, but on Monday it spreads on up the South Island. So lower temperatures again, a few snow flurries in the mountains. In the North Island, not as cold, westerly winds, but because there is a mild westerly temperature-wise, followed by a cooler sou'wester, these showers here may be a bit heavy. Could be a thunderstorm in there as well as it moves through. Generally speaking, not very much rain falling though, and eastern areas certainly looking the driest. As we jump to Tuesday, low pressure south of New Zealand, that is driving our weather as we go through, but there's also high pressure out in the Tasman Sea. So northern parts of New Zealand on Tuesday will notice, after maybe a cooler start, that the day is quite pleasant as high pressure moves through. The winds finally fade out around much of the North Island. May still be a bit windy in the lower North Island, and on the west coast you've got a few showers that may turn to sort of a lighter rain the further south you go. Westerly winds blowing through, so if you're in the east, it'll be dry, but it's not a very warm day around the South Island with that polar airflow surging right up over the South Island, the Chatham Islands, and the lower half of the North Island. But like I say, that is high pressure right next to the west coast. So there is some more windy weather here on Tuesday. It's mostly just in the very, very south of the country, Stewart Island, Foveaux Strait, and maybe a little bit of Southland getting some of those strong winds, but much of it is over Stewart Island. Damaging wind gusts, potentially up to 120 kilometres an hour for you, so power outage potential there for you on Tuesday. Let's move through to Wednesday. So there is the big, beautiful high that many of you want right over the top of New Zealand. It's not going to do that, unfortunately. So it means windy westerlies will carry on with the high north of us. Although it's not overly windy in many areas, but that breeze just carries on through, sort of a southwesterly or a westerly breeze around the North Island. It might be a bit more southerly around Wellington. The polar line is still around, but in the north here, subtropical winds are coming back in again. So this is sort of what I'm trying to say as we go through the next couple of weeks ahead, that while we do still have regular polar changes, polar boundary coming up over us, and we've still got these cold fronts, we're going to get more injections of milder days as far as the temperatures are concerned, with especially these subtropical sort of airflows drifting in. So it's not all winter forever. The winter weather is slowly fading away, but it's going to take another month or so before the really wild polar weather starts to drop back southwards. And what happens is these highs usually start to also drop southwards, and that brings us more of our summer-like weather. But we're not there yet. We're only just starting spring in some measures. So on Thursday, subtropical winds for parts of the North Island. The winds are west to northwest coming out of Australia for the South Island, which means Thursday will be a warmer day around New Zealand. But as you can see, we've still got some rain, some showers hanging around. It is not a perfectly settled day around. And as you can see around Australia, the next wintry surge is coming through for them as well. So, the southeast corner of Australia, the South Island of New Zealand, the lower half of the North Island, all still very much getting tastes of winter. But the top of New Zealand, the upper half of the North Island, you'll notice it more, and so will some of the eastern parts of both of the main islands. Will start to notice those milder days creeping in a little more often. That's all from me for today. I'll see you again tomorrow, Friday, with a weekend update and the outlook across all of next week.